All right, there we go. So it's 6:06. I got a lot of updates tonight, so I'm going to be talking for a little bit. But if you have any questions, just jump right in. Kind of same old style, nothing, just us here. And we can go from there. Does anybody have any questions off the bat or anything like that, or anything that they wanted to talk about before? No.
Is there any kind of progress with the dam commission?
That is one of the things I was going to talk about, and I'm sure Lou will talk about it too. So I'll dive right into that, Ken.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know if you all have noticed, but I did make our Facebook group not private yet, but I made it post approval. Wayne, I know you saw what had been posted by some fake horrible account on
Terrible.
this
Oh, what was
weekend.
it? What was posted?
So there was a fake
I
account.
want to know.
Yeah, there was a fake account that posted twice. I grabbed it, I got rid of it the first time and blocked them, but a new fake account was made and they posted the same thing again. It was straight up pornography. So
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because I know there's been somebody who's always posting about their autistic child who makes T-shirts, and you go in and look, and they're always creating it the day of, and you know it's garbage. But so this
Yeah.
sounds like it was 10 times worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
much worse.
it was definitely something different, and I do remove those posts too when they get put on ours, because they're all over the other community pages too in the area.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just I usually like suspend that person from posting stuff for a month and then just usually block or take that post down, because I those things are definitely scams. I don't know if anybody's gotten any t-shirts that they've ordered from there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
have? Okay. Oh,
I've
okay.
seen people
Yeah.
post the same with the Wales Sabattus is another page that people have said, oh, they got their t-shirt. Of course, that could be made up
That could
too.
be fake too. Yeah,
Right.
who knows?
And I mean, forgive me if they are real. I mean, honestly, I just don't think our page is for that specific thing. I mean, I think if we ever do want to get shirts or something with our logo and something like that, we could definitely do that as like a fundraiser type thing too. So, but I mean, they're all over the other community pages, and I don't know about you all, but I'm on all of them too. So, I didn't feel like I was taking away from anything by blocking those, but so yeah, with regard to like what the other person was posting this weekend, the really bad stuff, I was thinking about making our group private and then just having people request to join, and that way I can at least see that, hey, it's a real profile, and then like pull them in immediately. It's not something that I would deny anybody for any reason joining, type of a thing. It's more or less just to add one little barrier to those people with fake accounts that do post that on open sites like ours are. And it's
Just
a
an extra
shame.
filter.
Yeah, and it's a shame that we have to do it. It's just like I just don't want to risk like that, because the second one, Wayne had texted me, and it was what, Wayne, like 10:30 at night or something like
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
and like, if I'm in bed, or, our other admins are in bed and we don't see it till the morning, that's like, that's just something somebody shouldn't have to see on there.
Encourage some people, they
Yeah.
they'd leave the group if they
Yeah.
thought
If
that's
they
what-
saw that, they'd leave the group because
Yeah.
it was pretty bad.
Well,
So
it was, you're talking about the one that was a personal attack against a person with a sexual accusation?
No, it's just
Oh, it was actual pornography?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was straight up.
I remember the one you're talking about, Donna. I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remove that one and ban that person too every time. And it hasn't happened honestly on our page in quite some time. So I think that's free and clear. But I think just adding that little extra filter of making the group private and just having people request to join would just stop like those really obvious fake accounts from getting in there and just posting anything. So I'm going to do that. If anybody watching after has any concerns or wants to talk about that, I'm more than open to. It's just, yeah, it's just a shame. I don't want that to be on the page, and I don't want it to be presented there. So
there you go.
awesome. So I'm going to do that. Just make some notes. Great. So I know I've been talking for a little bit, but I've been trying to get some headway in the schools. So I did receive a response back from the principal at RSU4, the high school there. He was super excited in the email. We chatted back and forth about potentially like having a high school student be like an intern almost for the group, really learn about like environmental protection stuff, the stuff that we're doing, like maybe even assist out with some like admin things on like my end or other people's end if they're working on a project. And it counts for their volunteer work for like graduating high school. At least in RSU4, there's a volunteer
Community
requirement.
service.
Yeah, community service requirement. So I figured to be like a good way to like, hit two birds with one stone. And like, I want it to be as beneficial for them. And honestly, I really do think, prompting some encouragement to younger kids about this type of work is definitely a positive thing for the future too. So I'm working with Marco right now about that. He said he was all for it. I just got to type up kind of like an internship like application or job posting. It's a little weird, but it'll be pretty informal. No more than a couple hours a week type thing. Just maybe even just setting up these meetings and sending out an email reminder to the groups that we have or something like that. And then just kind of going from there. But I think it would be helpful for that. And if they want to start doing stuff in the school too on their end, I figure that's a good way to do it too.
Well, most of the high schools have community service requirements now too.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to try to get them to help out.
Yep. Yeah. So
And it seems like the younger generation is environmentally aware and concerned.
From all accounts that I've had in experience with like, Gen Z in that way, I definitely agree. And I think it's just maybe the opportunity being out there for them is positive. So I definitely hope we get some stuff. I imagine I'll probably do it like just like an application thing, just a short like essay. And like if they have prior work experience, just to list that. And then I figured I could come back to you all, the group, and we can kind of just look it over and then just kind of choose. I don't really have like any designation on how many spots we would have, but maybe like one or two. I guess it would depend on who we have applying. But I mean, there's plenty of stuff to get started on and get worked on. So I mean, if we have a bunch of applicants, I guess we'll go from there. So, but
now, which school are you
start.
talking about?
This is Oak Hill High School in RSU4. So it caters kids from Wales, Sabattus, and Litchfield. So 2 of the 3 towns. Yeah.
And what about Green? Where did they go to school?
They go to school at Lou, is it MSAD?
Yeah, 52. It's Levitt.
52. Yeah.
Levitt High, Trip
Okay.
High, Trip Junior High.
And I know Andrew has reached out to them for our cleanup event that we had a couple weeks ago, and that's kind of how my conversation with Marco started too. So I'm just going to follow up with him and just see if maybe he was able to make contact with that school for Green, because it's important for them to have that same opportunity too, I think. And we can go from there. So
Another thought to add to that whole thing too is there's a possibility maybe we could get some of these kids to volunteer as a monitor at the boat ramp. Just checking boats for weeds.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of awesome stuff that could be done if you have a solid volunteer group and stuff to do that. I don't know. I'd have to look into like I know kids younger than 18 can volunteer pretty much anywhere. I don't know if there's maybe specifics like where they have to have like a guardian there or somebody from the organization there at the same time, but
just a thought.
Yeah, no. It's excellent.
Right now there's nobody monitoring the ramp.
Yeah, just the game warden probably once a year, right?
Yeah, He launches his boat and then he's out on the water.
Sorry, I'm just saving notes. Great. My next thing is the Maine Department of Environmental Protections. I know I've been talking to you guys about that I've been working with them, trying to get them to come and speak for us and like a guest panel for them to speak for us. We confirmed it. It's going to be next Wednesday, the 15th at 6. And there's going to be quite a few people there. So I'm going to pull up the email real quick just to go over the names and titles.
Wow.
Good job, Nick.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was a long time coming, and
Nice job.
they've been great too, honestly. They've been doing a lot of work out in the field, but now that that's winding down too, they have that time. So they did a lot of internal meetings and go from there. So, and I had a phone call with Addie tonight, which was excellent, and we're going to talk again tomorrow morning too.
And that guy Scott Williams, he must have got back in touch right at the right time to be part of this presentation, right?
They
But
reached
you
out
said
to
you
him.
said you talked to him too, right?
I didn't talk to him directly. He's on an email chain that I'm on with the Department of Environmental people.
Yeah.
And so when we were finalizing a possible date and they were like finalizing speakers both internally from their departments and from like in the community or the extended community, they had actually asked about like people that they've worked with in the past because on past projects and if they were involved in what we're doing now. And honestly, some of them were. Dan was one of them. A couple other people were on there too. And Scott Williams was on there too as well. So
Good.
I said that we had reached out to him prior, and it sounds like mostly everybody's up to speed on like the Bates presentation and like pretty much everything that we've been doing. My phone call with Addie tomorrow, which has been my main contact from the main DEP. She is going to we're going to talk about like all the other stuff that's going on because everything is very siloed, kind of like I talked about before. Like a lot of people don't know what other people are doing, and that's part of like kind of what we're doing here. We're bringing all of this information into one place, and
Yes.
hopefully, so like when this, I have no intention for this thing to stop, but if God forbid it ever did 5-10 years from now, all of this information will be centralized and in one place, and you just give it to whoever keeps going with it in that way. But she, let me pull up that email. I don't know why I can't find it.
There's so much information and data out there that's been done over the years. If it was all brought, like you're saying, Nick, into one group so that you can reference 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
instead of reinventing the wheel every time. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like when I was doing my research, I'd come across like these concurrent projects that were going on at the same time. And like, I'd speak to people and interview them and I'd be like, were you aware of what was going on right here?
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I don't think it's anybody's fault per se, but like a lot of people weren't. So it's really just kind of getting everything together. And I know I've shared it a few times, but I have that massive Google Drive of all of the files that I've found and worked with, all of the files that I've been collecting, all of the files that we've been collecting, like all the pictures and stuff, like that's all in one place. So, and like, not to mention our recordings too, that have, dozens of hours of us conversating about this regularly available for people to view in the future or whatever. So, yeah, I definitely think that's a huge, solid foundation that we're building there for that.
Yeah. Now we just got to get the attention of the right people.
Yeah,
Right.
And it definitely does sound like we're going in the right direction with my conversation with Addie and stuff.
Yeah.
So I have just the list of speakers right here. It's just on my email chain from when I emailed you all this earlier this week. It's Linda Bacon from the Maine Department of Environmental Protections. She is a lake unit leader, so she deals primarily with lakes and ponds. Jeff Dennis, who is the management unit leader. Addie had said that he's been there for 50 years and was like an excellent resource for like all the institutional knowledge that's been going on. Addie Halligan, which I've been speaking with. She is on the Watershed management unit, so she deals a lot with work specific to like watershed plans and building those watershed surveys and stuff. Scott Williams, which we've talked about before, but he is a private consultant now, I believe, and he was the former director of Maine Lake Stewards of Maine since around the mid-90s. And he will be speaking, and Anthony had reached out to him a few months ago too, so it was nice to see that we're also looking in the right areas too for these people who have a lot of knowledge on these things. So that's great to see. And then Barry Mower, he's a retired biologist for the Maine DEP. And he actually grew up in Leeds in like within the watershed in like the 50s and 60s, he said. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so a lot of exciting stuff. It's going to be like oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody said something. It's gonna be like a panel style type thing, where they're gonna introduce themselves and they're kind of gonna have their own little speech or focus or what they want to talk about and focus on, and then it's just gonna open it up for a dialogue and discussion with all of us and whoever's there. They're going to be talking about like their what they know, the information that they have, and they're going to be talking about potentially next steps too, because Sabattus Pond is a very complex case because it's not only about the pollution that has come into the pond over the last 50 years, but the internal dynamics of its recycling and how it's stayed in the pond for so long too. So it does limit options in a way, but this is an excellent first step that I'm very confident of to move forward how we do. So
So you're hoping that they will come and basically say to us, well, here's what needs to get done. I mean, it's going to be a big task, but that there are things that can be done and they're doable, albeit it will be a lot of work and it'll take a lot of time. Is that fair to say? Okay.
Yeah, so there are so I just want to express just for everybody watching after the fact too, this is like we're not going to come out of this meeting with like a plan of like this is how we're going to do it. They are going to present some potential recommendations or what they think might be options, and from what I understand, there's some differences, which is good. It's the diversity of thought thing that we've also talked about too. So there's still a lot of decisions that need to be made. This is a great first step. And honestly, like Anthony said, it's going to take time also too after this, but I just want to manage everybody's expectations. This is just another step in that direction. So we're getting there. They will potentially talk about grant solutions as well and stuff like that. And we'll go from there too. So, but
Nick, is there any one person that will be the spokesperson for this whole group that's going to be meeting?
for like the panel.
Yes.
So,
is there a person that eventually all this might take years, but all this stuff gets fed to, can say, here's what needs to be done to whoever has the authority to make that whatever happens happen? Or is it just going to be more panels?
So no, so it won't be more panels per se like that unless it's like more informational stuff. But so to that point, because that's a great question. So essentially, like this is the starting of a relationship, and me and Addie were talking tonight. I would say that she's probably the point person for us in that way. She's organized all of these speakers together, done the internal meetings to like go over what's known, what's unknown, like what's everybody thinking. So that's a positive. I would definitely say that Addie is probably our go-to there in that way. I think she's going to be running it from her side on that end. But this is the start of a relationship, an ongoing relationship. So this won't be like they do this panel and we never see them again type thing. I plan to continuously keep working with them, and like the same thing that I've been continuously communicating with Bates in a way too, just letting them know about what's going on. And I have an update for that too. That I'll get to a little bit later, but it's a continuing relationship and I plan to keep working with them. It's just bringing more people into that fold. So, and honestly, more from positions of actual authority in the state too. I mean, the Maine DEP is a big player in the stuff that we want to do. So I think that that's a very positive sign that, they're willing to put all of this stuff together, get, 5 different people in a room with us, essentially, like through Zoom, and then talk about potential next steps and solutions to try to address this problem moving forward. And going
Good.
Yeah.
Do they have any clout as far as trying to get funding?
So they have mechanisms within the Maine DEP that do have that are funding mechanisms, like we've talked about it before, the 604B grant to get that watershed survey done. and then the 319 grant, which would then essentially fund the implementation of whatever plan we could a person or a group of people would come up with. So those are like internal mechanisms for that. I don't know it like anything from like the actual like state legislature side. I don't know for anything like the state actually allocating specific funds for that type of a thing. But it's a question we can certainly ask, and that actually leads into my next thing too. So they were, after speaking with Addie tonight, she was wondering if maybe we had a list of common questions that are asked that they can be thinking about over the next week, or any specific questions that they can try to get answers to before the meeting next week. So it's not like we ask the question there, they're not sure, and then we have to wait for the follow-up type thing.
Mhm.
So anybody listening now, anybody that is on the call now, if you have specific questions, please email them to me, and I will just keep forwarding them on to Addie. So we can have a group like a email chain going with that, and I can just send the answers right back to you and then talk about them in our meeting too, if it's not something they're able to address next week. So definitely send me any questions you have. I have a few basic ones I'm going to write down that come up a lot. So I'll talk to her about those tomorrow, and just to have them keep them in mind when, in between now and next week. So
Nick,
I don't know. Go ahead, Donna, I'm sorry.
Okay, I would like it if each player, each person on the panel could give some background as to what their job is and what their goals and mission is, so that I can see what network they are involved in,
absolutely.
what they are bringing to the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'll add that right now.
I don't know if they will be able to answer this question, but I'm assuming that they've worked with other lake associations and may be able to give us advice on general advice on how you connect with people. How do we get people interested? How do we get people engaged? Because I assume that in every lake area, there are people who either don't get involved, they're too busy, they don't believe it, it's too much, all the different reasons people don't get engaged. Maybe they'll have some ideas on how we can get people to sort of pay attention a bit more and to get more people interested. I mean, better than I that, who's watching the videos and what's sort of the size of our group, but sort of to just kind of increase the chatter, generally speaking, about what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so like I said, I've been talking to her since June, so it's just been a lot of back and forth then. And throughout that time, I did send her what we had for a stakeholder analysis, that matrix that we created. And because they were asking who we were in contact with, who we had reached out to, who's involved, who do we want to be involved. And so we had some conversations about that, which was great. I sent them a list. I sent them that document that we created, that Excel spreadsheet, that matrix. And then I also said that, that some of the presentation work that I've done to the Wales board, to the Sabattus board, just my general outreach to the other municipalities like Green, and like other associations too, like the Lake Stewards of Maine and things like that. So yeah, it's been a topic of conversation. So those are good signs to me that they're asking those questions. So I feel very confident in like us joining together with them in that way. So,
well, just one other thing to kind of pinpoint on that you've already mentioned, that they're going to talk about future remedies and possible path to go forward. Everybody's already done all the research.
mm-hmm.
So we need to concentrate on where do we go from here,
Yeah.
and how do we get there?
Yep, good point.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is one of the basic questions that, or one of the common questions that I put down, Ken, because I know Wayne, you've expressed it too, and other people have. Like, it is very frustrating that all of the research that has been done, and we know the lake is bad. We know it's bad. Like, we've known it's been bad for a long time. So it's kind of like, the one thing that I would say to that, and I do continue to say, is that although like the yes, the base research is there, like the pond is in dire constraints. The research going forward should really be used as a dual purpose to inform where we target specifically in this system itself, like where around the pond. And it's just for more efficient use of resources, because unfortunately resources are limited, like time, money, and things like that. But we will, the research going forward should address that. It won't be just to like continuously determine how bad the pond is, because we know it's more like what I want to advocate for is that we do research that is dual purpose in that way, where we come out of it and we also then know, like, okay, so this part of the lake is receiving a lot of agricultural waste. So we need to target the farms that are around there and see what's going on there before we dump like, $1 million and do a fix into the pond and still have that problem being like still there in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Eliminate
Like,
the source.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the research
Identify
there,
it. Mhm.
yeah. And so I definitely hear you all. I definitely feel the same sentiment. And I think that base level of research is kind of gone in that way. Like moving forward, even with our monitor program, which I hope we have up and running by springtime, it's going to be more or less focused on having the necessary, like very micro level data to back up like private grants that we apply for, for more training or for more technology and stuff like that. Because those like funding sources, they want to see like, oh, hey, we're out there, we're collecting this data, like, all of this historical data is here. We know this is bad, but we need new equipment or something like that. Or maybe we want like a canoe for somebody to not have to worry about trying to find someone with a boat to go out there or something like that. Just things of that nature, I guess. But it should be dual purpose. So I definitely.
Well, like I say, it's a matter of trying to find a path forward.
Yeah.
Versus doing the same thing every year and
Yeah.
getting the same information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
Addre-
Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody.
Addressing Anthony's question about outreach, I think it would be helpful for the team that you've put together for next Wednesday, if they could see this Zoom grassroots project that you've put together and that we're participating in, and it might, if people that are listening after tonight's meeting might make an extra effort to join next Wednesday's meeting, it might be an interesting point for the members to see that there is this new technology with the Zoom of ways to reach people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know during COVID, they did use Zoom quite a bit, I think, for like meetings and stuff like that. But as an outreach tool, definitely.
The grassroots.
Yeah.
Like us. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So I've been receiving some emails back from people who I haven't heard from since around the Bates college presentation time. So they seem very interested in joining for next week too. So I hope we have a similar turnout. And then I think we had like 22, 23 on at that time. And yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a good turnout that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I'm going to be flying to Fort Myers next Wednesday, so I'm going to miss the meeting, but I hope we have a good turnout, because I think it's an exemplary, it's an obvious way, besides mailing brochures, to actually have eye-to-eye contact with people.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the more people we can get involved in next week's meeting is a good example of what we're trying to get done and the progress we've already made. Just by getting some high-level people involved. It speaks well for the group to try to get that word out that, let's get as many people on the call as we can.
And that honestly is a great segue into my next like point for this thing is before the Bates meeting, I emailed and reached out to like the Green Board of the Green Select Board, the Wales Select Board, Monmouth, Leeds, like all of the state reps, all of the state senators and stuff like that. I'm gonna do something like that again, but for everybody that's here and watching now, sending an email to them for you as well is a big thing too. And I highly encourage just sending out a quick email to anybody in your local municipality and just say, hey, like I'm part of this group. We're having the Maine Department of Environmental Protections coming and speaking next week. I'd really like you to be there, like, to your select board member or to even the dam commission, Lou. I'm going to send out an email to them, but
even just the neighbors that aren't necessarily involved.
yeah, neighbors that aren't involved. Like this stuff really does have the power at like the individual level. So, I mean, I can send out those mass emails to the state reps and the elected officials, but those numbers are like, if they receive like 5 or 6 people in a week, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Because it's extrapolated then. So, I mean, but if I don't hear a thing, then they don't think I might not need to show this as much time as, as much as my limited time that I have in a way.
Yeah. I mean, having, being involved in politics in Massachusetts, I echo that. An email for me doesn't matter. That they want to hear from constituents, and I know legislators in Massachusetts will look to see, all right, is this someone one of my constituents? So I can't really do anything about it. But the other thing is, in trying to get people to reach out to their elected officials, any little thing you can do to help them. And even if it's sort of, here's 5 lines you can throw in an email, and then tell them to tweak it a little bit to make it a bit more personal. They are much more likely to do it if you basically give them a script. So even if you're talking to your friends and saying, look, we're trying to get more emails, can you send this email? Here's a sample, change it up a little bit, but so then it doesn't look like a form email. And I think that's something that people can do. It's people need their handheld because people are busy, and it's just, you're more likely to get a response. You're more likely to get people to respond.
Yeah, any email you all can send out, or just talk to your neighbor or anything like that, it would be super helpful. And I'll have the Zoom link. And what I can even do is this weekend, when I start sending out those emails, I'll probably send them out on Friday. Honestly, what I'll do is I'll probably just send out an email saying like, hey, if you want to reach out to somebody to see if they want to join this meeting, just literally copy and paste this into an email bar and literally just send it out, and go from there. So I think that'll be good, just like a quick, easy template that people can just copy and paste, and then they can make it as personable as they want to from there. But just like, hey, here's the Zoom information, like here's the date and time, and just go from there. But yeah, that's a great suggestion, Anthony, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, I have a question. Is Sabattus Pond the only lake pond in the state of Maine that's in this trouble?
So there is a list of impaired ponds and lakes on the state website, and it's not in any specific order. But I think there's about 24 on their total. So Sabattus Pond is one of them. So I think I have the list, honestly.
I'm thinking, was China Lake one of them?
I don't want to say without knowing.
Yeah,
Let me pull it up.
I
But
shouldn't say that.
I think you showed us that list a while back, and we determined that it was alphabetical.
yeah,
I guess-
yes, you did. Yeah, it's on my presentation. Sorry,
Yeah,
what were you saying?
I guess you guys remember that, and I guess where I was going with that question is, if these lakes and ponds are in a situation like Sabattus Pond is, why wouldn't it go to the state legislature and have, like, when you have a disaster fund,
Yeah.
a bridge gets washed out and they have to rebuild a bridge, I don't understand why there aren't those kinds of funds to save our waters, lakes and ponds in the state of Maine. It just seems like unfair for the towns of Wales, Sabattus, and Green to have to be responsible for it. I know it's a process. I get that.
Yeah.
But if it's that important to the state of Maine, the state of Maine is, it's Maine.
Maybe we can ask the people next week who the elected officials are in the important committees on the state level, and who are sort of the people who are the environmental, that's their issue. And maybe that at a minimum, it gives us a chance to, okay, we know we want to talk to these 2 or 3 people in the state legislature who can maybe answer that exact question that you're raising, Wayne. Like, all right, how do we get the state interested in not
Yes.
just us, but all this whole problem? I mean, it's a big,
Like if
right?
you had-
It's a tourism is a huge thing.
Yeah.
If you had an oil tanker spillage into Sabattus Pond, there would be millions of dollars there to clean up the pond, right?
Yeah.
Are
True.
you suggesting we figure out a way to do that? So we
No, no, geez.
Not at all. Don't make that comment.
Oh wait, we're being taped. We're being taped.
Well,
I'm
it's-
kidding. I'm kidding.
No, all I'm saying is there's always money. There's always money.
Yeah.
And that's.
Well, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so I mean, that's what we've got to do.
Exactly.
Tell our
Yeah.
legislators that we care.
Right.
I 100% agree with that, Donna. And honestly, like a part of the first
Gold.
paper.
Um,
Yeah.
He lives in Lewiston, so he's familiar with the areas.
Yeah, the first
It's federal.
the first paper I did on Sabattus Pond in my graduate program was actually analyzing when and how policies changed, and specifically in regard to the pond itself, like the flushing practices. And I know I've spoken about this before, but every single time that something has actually been done and funding has come from the state, has literally been because people around the pond have made formal complaints to the state about the pond. So
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do.
And find
We
out
are
who's
going to
running
do
for
that.
re-election.
yeah, that's been my main focus, and that's why I've initially, started going off like the community groups and trying to build that group from actually residents and people who live there and who experience it, because that's what's been carrying the most weight that I saw through my analysis over the last 50 years. So I just figured if it's working then, or at least it prompts something, and then we can hopefully take it further, of course, than that one-time project and have it stop type of a thing, which wasn't always the case, but yeah. And
We had
yeah.
a DEP inspection on our property a couple of years ago from the previous oil spill on the property. And I was quizzing the guy at the same time about exactly what we're talking about. And he basically told me, he said, well, individuals don't have any clout at all. It has to be a group.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the group now. So we're
Good.
on the right track.
Yeah. And I think we're really making progress with the connections and the other municipal organizations in the area or community groups in the area. Like, I like to think I have my ear ground to an extent back home, and just hearing people talking about it, and my friends and family get asked about it too. So it's definitely out there. So I mean, that's what generates that buzz. So that's a good sign too. Yeah. And
Have
whether
you-
or
are
not,
you-
like,
You noticing that these lakes, these endangered lakes, tend to be concentrated in our area of the woods? This,
Yeah.
there's Green, Monmouth, Winthrop, Augusta, Unity,
Newport, Windsor,
Wayne.
Richmond.
Farmland.
farmland, yeah, I imagine, yeah. yeah.
Yeah, it's,
That's probably
uh,
my best guess. Wayne is a big one, right? Wayne's a big farming community, I think.
we
Yeah, well,
probably,
look it up north. They don't have the problem up north.
right, that's what I'm
That's
noticing.
all farmland.
I wonder if it would be
Probably just
important
because of
to
the
reach out
hills.
to these
Well-
particular lake associate, if there are lake associations on these particular ponds, if we might want to focus and wrap our wagons around.
Well, some of the stuff in this
endangered
area
lake.
could be related to watershed elevations. Whereas you don't have as much hills and mountains and various things up north as they do down here, so it all rinses down into the lakes.
No, absolutely. And that's a great point, Donna, too, because collectively, like if anything were to come from a state level to really address these specific lakes and these impaired lists, collectively working together in that way would carry a lot of weight. So definitely.
Yeah, and these people would have as much motivation as we do, because their property values are dependent on the health of their lake.
I remember years and years ago, I was working for the SD Warren Paper Mill Company in Westbrook, Maine. And I was hired, my job was when the Clean Water Act came out,
Mhm,
and they were attacking the paper mills to clean up the rivers and all that stuff.
mhm.
My involvement was to go around in the paper mill and look for areas where overflows of chests of stock or coating or colors or leaky valves and pipes was actually dumping into the river. And of course, the state of Maine forced them to clean it up. And you look at the rivers today coming from the paper mills, they're a lot better. So what we're going to do as a group, hopefully we'll get that same momentum going and clean up these lakes and ponds.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Exactly.
definitely a lot of mutual interest and benefit. So for sure. I'm
There
writing
was
that
also
down.
the air quality involved in that, Wayne.
Yeah, there was. I was involved in that too.
Yeah,
That's
is important.
interesting work. Yeah, seriously, especially when that legislation was passed. Who was that in the 70s? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Muskie, I think.
Yeah, he was a big proponent of that. Yeah.
Yeah, in Westbrook, you couldn't even breathe back then.
That's true. But we called it bread and butter back then, remember?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
All right.
Fortunately, the SD Warren paid a lot of taxes.
They sure did.
Okay, so I can do another flyer type situation too, and have that out. I just wouldn't be able to distribute it anywhere else online. I don't know if anybody, and I can connect with Justin as well because I think he distributed the one for the cleanup event. But it would be very easy to distribute or to create the flyer. And I was just going to have the list of speakers and maybe some main topics and a QR code about how to get the information, where to go and stuff like that. So, but I'm going to pump that out too this weekend. So I'll have that going. But if anybody wants the digital copy, anybody here now or listening later, to print off and put places, just let me know, shoot me an email and I can send it in the group. So.
You said you could send it to, like, you could send me a copy of it?
Oh yeah.
You have my email or just my text?
I do, Wayne. I think you're on the email list, aren't you? Do you get
Sure.
them asked? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Because I can
Well-
send it to some of the folks that I know around the pond. Let's see if it helps.
Yeah, no, excellent. Yeah, so what I'll do is actually after I create it, I'll just attach it to the email that I send out to the mass email. So I'll put it on the Facebook and on the Instagram page.
That works.
Yeah, so we should
Is
have
this a
that soon.
flyer to advertise next Wednesday's meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, send me
So-
one too. I could send it to my road association.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anthony, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, send it around to all of us. I'll share it to whom I can share it to as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, here's recap.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Will it be sent as an attachment or if you open it, will it be colorful right from the get-go?
So I'll send the ready print version. So if anybody does want to print it or send it, they can just, I'll probably send out 2 emails then. So that's probably, so that's not confusing. So I'll send it as like an actual picture in the email. So when you send the email, it'll be right there.
Yeah, that's better.
And I can send just the additional attachment too, if somebody wants to print it, just a print ready version, kind of like how you did, Donna.
Yeah.
Or if you just need to go to Staples or you have an at-home printer, you literally just open it up and print it away and it should be good to go. So awesome. I will do that. Update from the Dam Commission. So since I was in town last week, I was able to go to the Dam Commission meeting. I did see JD on here earlier, but he must have jumped off. Lou, I don't know. Do you want to? I have a bunch of notes from there. I don't know if you want to say something or go from.
Sure. It's quite a meeting. Usually their meetings historically, I guess, have been half an hour, and the last 2 that I've been to has been an hour and a half. But they did close the dam Sunday, so the water level was down. Hopefully, we don't have to open it again if the water comes up from a lot of rain and stuff till March or whenever we do. Then we're going to try to get a meeting with Mark LaFlamme. He's a journalist for the Sun Journal, and to try to tell him what's going on, because there was talk that one of the selectmen from Green is bad-mouthing the dam project. And so we're going to meet evidently this week sometime. I haven't heard, with Mark LaFlamme and a photographer, and put something in the newspaper to alert the general public about the scoop on why we need to fix the dam. So hopefully that works out good too. Like
Can I
to-
ask what, I'm sorry, Blue,
ahead.
who, someone is bad mouthing, someone is out there saying the dam doesn't need to be replaced? Why would they, if you know, why would someone have that attitude that it doesn't need replacing?
Well,
Costs too much money.
yeah, and that's what it comes
That's it.
down to. Each town's gonna have to chip in, and he doesn't like that idea. So he's putting, you know, one bad out of 10 makes more of an impact than the other 9, and
Yeah,
so that's what seems to be happening. That's the first time I heard of it, but
so it's not, I don't want the towns to pay for it, I want someone else to pay for it, it's simply, we shouldn't do it, period.
Right.
yeah,
We don't need it.
right. Because if all 3 towns don't go in, it's not going to happen. So he's trying to discourage the green part, which is unfortunate, really. I mean, and then I guess they were talking about trying to put a flyer out as well, which is different from the flyer that Nick has put out. Because two different goals, and so there was pretty good discussion on that. They're working on that again to just alert the public, or especially the people that live on the lake, but in general public, because they're gonna have to agree to chip in on the cost too. So trying to show them why we really need the dam fixed, repairs. And there was talk about,
we don't get it fixed, we don't have a lake.
pretty much.
See, that's why I don't, the state doesn't step in and say, here's the money. Here's $1 million, fix the dam.
Well, you saw the list, there's 20 other lakes, they'd have to do that
Yeah.
too. So
Oh, that's the problem.
it's like Donna says, whoever the squeaky wheel is, and
Yeah.
we're squeaking.
Yeah.
And thanks to Nick, it's an organized squeak, so hopefully it'll come out good. So that's pretty much, and I guess somebody was saying they'd like the meetings to be recorded at the Dam Commission. So I'm going to try to work on that as well. We're going to have meetings instead of every other month, once a month, because until this gets resolved with the agreement on how we're going to do it, if we're going to do it. So once a month, first Wednesday of the month. Did you anything else, Nick, that you remember?
And I think it was
No.
to help.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, just I was going to talk about the focus on the financial aspect, which I think is good for that end. Just how much extra tax revenue is generated from properties that are directly on the pond. And then, you know, I think they used the example of Wales, and they gave out a number that was, I think, quite a few years old, if I remember right, Lou. But even then it was pretty substantial. And, you know, the ask, I think, is, you know, maximum probably like 400,000 from each community. I think it's closer to like 300,000 something, but I'm just being overly cautious talking about it. But and focusing on like how that, you know, would be made back by putting that investment into the dam itself, because then you would still have those properties around. Because I guess the option is that if this doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen, you know, within not a specific time frame, Lou, but if it doesn't happen soon, or it keeps going into more disrepair, they multiple people said that night that the state had already threatened to come in and take control of it and open the dam and just get rid of the water, and or the water would, you know, definitely drain out. It would be much lower. So
Well, I think I don't remember if it was at that meeting or one of our meetings, but the actual increased value was like 20 or 25% for shorefront property.
Yeah. I don't know about the specific numbers. In Lou, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said like the numbers that they had from Wales was like they received like 150,000 or something a year extra from the properties on the pond. Is that?
I remember 180. So
180.
that's what I remember.
Yeah,
and that's old numbers.
So I mean, you're talking like if the ask is 400,000, you know, and you receive 150 or even like 120 a year just from given conservative numbers, you're going to have that paid back in 3 or 4 years.
Right.
It's just an investment to keep that going. And if the state did come in and take control of it and just keep the dam open, how much of those waterfront properties would not be waterfront anymore and, not have the same tax evaluation at all. So you're talking about that tax burden, that loss of that tax burden being spread on everybody else as well. So even though it might seem like it's only affecting the people who live on the pond, it actually is going to affect everybody in those communities because the tax revenue is that's gained from those shoreline properties.
They're not going to meet their budget numbers.
Yeah, and then that burden gets spread on everybody. So
that threat that came from the state about fix it or we're going to close it or let it go, that was 9 years ago, and so the Dam Commission has been trying for 9 years to get up the momentum to get this fix. So what I came away from that was that the Dam Commission, I think, could really use our support to put gears in motion to get this passed by our communities.
Yeah. And I explicitly told them that night that I was there, I said, the repair and replacement of the dam is directly related to how effective our organization is. We're tied, and until this dam is replaced, like our focus will be on trying to assist that. So I mean, it's just whether or not they want the help or take the help, I think, is the only question at hand now. But that is something that we're tied together in it, honestly, because finer control of the dam and a better dam would allow updates to flushing policies. You wouldn't need 8 people to come and open it, once a year. So
Another aspect they talked about was the fish ladder that I noticed that some of the guys on the commission were against. But to me, whatever it takes to get that dam fixed, repaired, whether it involves getting the fish ladder or getting some extra grant money, I don't care one way or the other. I just want that thing fixed. And so let's just get it done.
And that certainly is a trade-off too.
Right.
But I'm saying I agree. Like at this point, there needs to be a new one. So if the sticking point is the fish ladder or not, that's a conversation that needs to be happened by the Dam Commission, of course, and people who vote on it. But it might be a necessary thing just to get it
The
done.
meeting that we went to, if I remember right, it sounded like the funding for the fish ladder is a different source than what we were looking for the dam anyway. So if somebody else wants to come in and put in a fish ladder, then go ahead.
Yeah, Lou, I think you were talking about last meeting or the Dam Commission meeting that it could potentially strengthen, that the guy who was saying it could potentially strengthen grant applications if it was in there.
That's the impression that I got from the previous meeting.
That's right. Two months ago when you were there, that's what he said. But Dan didn't seem to think that had much credibility for some reason. So I don't know. If it takes the fish ladder to be installed and us to get extra grant money, then so be it. I mean, it was talk about how the fish ladder really doesn't augment the lake. I'm not so sure about that either. So it's a learning process.
It all comes back to the all wives, and they're not going to go away.
Right. Are they harmful or not? So.
Well, either way, it's the lobster industry's got a lot more clout than we do. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to go away. So whatever it takes to support that, if that's a fish ladder, then somebody else is going to pay for it and it'll help us, then go for it.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Ironically, the fish ladder is like a red herring. It's getting in the way of getting the job done.
Good one.
Well, just tell them about giving their fish ladder if they pay for the dam.
I think that was the general understanding, I think, originally, but it seems to be not the case after a few years. Lou, did I listen to that right when they were talking?
That's what he said. Although 2 months ago, Casey, I guess his name is, from MRW, he said that it was a possibility that if we got the fish ladder in with the grant, it would pay part of the dam and maybe even the whole thing. But then Dan Garrett said, that's not the case, because they've been trying to do this, and so I don't know what the story is, but
More to come, I'm sure, on that. Yeah.
Politics.
Let's hope it's not more of the same.
Absolutely.
Well, politics is always more of the same.
Yep. So true.
And so the last thing I have about the dam commission meeting is the live streaming, because I know Justin had talked a lot about that last meeting with Dan when Dan was here, and so that was specifically brought up. I made sure to advocate for it very hard for those of you that were there. I was a big proponent of it. The reduction of barriers, the increased access to information, the fact that things are actively recorded, so you can just go back and rewatch and re-listen. And it was not falling on deaf ears. People were receptive, I think, to the idea of it. I believe it's something that they have to continue discussing, like Lou had said. There are some main hesitations that I just wanted to. There was trade-offs between the more casual environment that they've created on those committees, and also like we're having to worry about what they say or what they might say, and it's a public meeting, so I definitely am like a big advocate for. Yeah.
What they say at the meeting shouldn't be a big issue because the meetings are recorded on paper anyway.
That was my thought, and that's what I said to them. And like I said, it did not fall on deaf ears. They were receptive. Many were talking about it. We talked about it for a long time, quite a few minutes, honestly, like 20 minutes or something. The Walestown office is already set up, I guess, to live stream. I guess they did it during COVID. So the technology is already right there and ready. Maybe a Zoom subscription might need to be renewed, but I also told them that I wouldn't mind. They can use mine. I don't care. And I know, Donna, you had even said funding a year's worth of that subscription if that was helpful too. So the information's out there. Talk to them directly, and I guess they just gotta talk amongst themselves. But would love to see it, and I think it would really help get the information out there for that big ask of them, asking the towns next spring for that money, if that is
Definitely a good way to get the word out.
Yeah.
I think that part of their congeniality has to do with being able to be candid with each other, and
I think
you
so,
would lose that. And I totally understand.
I told them.
Same here. I agree.
Yeah. I didn't think that anything that was said was, risque or anything like that. Like I found them to be a group of very charismatic and genuine people. So I think people would be receptive to that. I mean,
they used who is it? I think maybe was his name Eric. He used humor. Just fantastic. He was great. He was referring to somebody, and he was talking about somebody's wife, but the way he referred to it, and is sleeping with the whoever, so he just had this very aloof way of taking information and making it amusing, and so it made the meeting fun, because they all knew that when he was saying he's sleeping with Gloria or whoever it was, they all knew that that was his wife. But there was a lot of just main humor in that, and they probably don't want to have to censor themselves. I want the transparency, but I'm just telling you, I can understand what they feel they would be giving up.
And then there's the other side that you get cameras, and there are some people who will play to the cameras, right? They know they're being watched, and they might change their behavior in a different way than what you're talking about. But I'm with you. I want transparency, but sometimes it's harder to get a consensus because someone feels like they need to take a certain position and say certain things because they know people are watching.
Right.
Well, JD is gonna, I believe, giving the minutes, right, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, yes, they'll be a month behind just because they need to be approved by you guys at the next meeting. But yes, yeah. So, but yeah, I like I said, I'm still a huge proponent of the recordings. I think the trade-offs are not, I don't think the trade-off would be as much as they would think it would be for that loss of like the casualness of it. And I think the gain in the information access and like having that more available to people is a huge benefit. So
Well, the meeting that we went to, I didn't recall any part of the meeting that couldn't easily be public. It was a very professional meeting. The guys really seem to be doing a good job, and they got an idea what they're doing. You know, it's
But we
like
all
I said,
know that when you put something out in like social media now, there everywhere there are these
somebody's going to be a
cruel
critic.
people that attack anonymously. So
For
you
no
know,
reason.
yeah, I don't think I have comments on our YouTube page, but usually sometimes just smart to turn off comments per se and just have the private messaging on there. But it's difficult when you're a municipality or a quasi-municipal thing because it's public and there's different things there. I mean, it is unfortunate, but yeah, those are public-facing positions in a way too. But stuff, I get it. But I definitely do hope they end up by recording their meetings and stuff like that. So, but
Nick, I have just one question.
Yeah.
Why would the state want to drain the lake?
I don't think it's they want to drain it. I just think that they, from what I understand, and I don't keep, I did not see this letter or this piece of information that was received 9 years ago. I just heard it spoken about at the meeting last Wednesday by multiple people. And it seemed like essentially that if it's not repaired, then and it keeps going into disrepair, it would be dangerous potentially to have, I don't want to use the word dangerous. But I mean,
They're
like,
afraid, they're
it's
afraid of breaching
unreliable.
the dam.
Yeah, and then having a lot of water come down. So their solution would be if the state already doesn't think they have the money to fix it and hasn't offered, then their only solution would be to just open it up and just keep it open, which would have a lot of spiraling effects on people who live on the pond. So
they don't look at the economic value of that lake. They just want to keep it drained and.
They're not necessarily saying drained. It just would be, my interpretation, it would be a smaller footprint if we didn't have the dam.
Would it be like it is when they lower it in the fall?
That's my interpretation.
But you might as well.
you'd have it open 24/7. You know what I mean? It would be and historically the dam or the pond itself used to be just the northern part. So let me pull up a little map.
So
Nobody would have a dog.
Nobody would have dogs. So there'd be no boating because the middle of the lake would be.
And granted, I don't know what would exactly happen at all. So I'm just gonna say that
doesn't sound good.
When you take 8 feet of water,
there's a lot of unknown. Yeah.
you got 6 to 8 feet of water on the lower end. You take out 4 feet, you don't have much water left.
So yeah, so here is here's where the dam is located. And from my understanding and when I worked with the Sabattus Historical Society and those old documents, that essentially the pond used to be just about around up here. And then there was I think it stopped like right there as in the maps. And of course, like these are maps that are like old. So I don't know, but it was much, much smaller, like just this top part up here. And then there was a stream that led down here because all of this used to be meadow, I guess, at some point. So but being a full pond for this long, there, of course, like, it wouldn't turn into meadow at all immediately or anything like that. And I don't even know where it would go. It would depend on average rainfall each year, stuff like that. But if it was originally a stream, if it was originally a stream that brought it down to there that they originally dammed up to create the pond itself, then I can't imagine that 100 years, geographically speaking, would be that much different. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, a few years ago, we used to drain the lake a lot more aggressively. And my understanding and then they'd shut it. So imagine that open all the time. So it'd even be more out than the aggressive draw. It would be like a stream.
Yeah.
You'd have so much beachfront that you couldn't walk to there. You couldn't put a dock.
Right.
So yeah, definitely, that is probably worst case scenario, because then at that point, we wouldn't really even have a lake to advocate for, a pond to advocate for. So that's why, for, those of you watching after and here, like, that's why we're so interconnected with this dam replacement thing right now, is because that's just where it's at. But
We gotta do it.
yeah, that is that. Let's see. Yep, that's all I have for the dam commission. So going from there. Let's see. So I know I spoke and I said that I was going to be working with Sharon, excuse me, to update their website. It was so great of her to give us a little spot on the Walestown website for the Sabattus Pond Watershed project. So I need to get some copy together and send that over to her to add to that page and go from there. I was thinking about meeting times, like more about us just in general, a couple blurbs about that, and then links to our other social media pages and stuff. Nothing too big. And maybe if we got that intern, that's something that they could work on as well. And if anybody wants to help out with writing that copy, just shoot me an email or just send me a blurb of what you got. Just looking for any assistance with that would be great. And then we can go from there. So I'll get together with Sharon and send that information over, and we can update that stuff just to have on the website. And then we can maybe even try to get some space on Sabattus's website and Wales or Green's website too. So
yeah. Good work, Nick. Good work.
I was just lucky to have Sharon and put us on there. We didn't even have to ask. She was so nice, just out of the space for us. I have a small update from Holly, so I've kept in contact with the Bates team, just letting them know. Like I personally reached out and let them know about our meeting next week, which they are excited for. Holly might not be able to make it because she has another meeting that night, but both Abby and Caleb, who were the two students, or one of Abby's graduated, but Caleb was a current student, and they will be attending. So that's great, I think. And Caleb also actually said that he is working on a little synthesis project for his schoolwork about Sabattus Pond. So he was excited to have the opportunity to hear what everybody else says too. So just another cool thing, just somebody else joining in and doing that. So it's great to see. So
good job.
She did send me the total clicks and views of the Bates video, because I was very curious about that, and somebody had asked about that a couple weeks ago, and I did get that information. And keep in mind, this is as recent as from 2 Wednesdays ago, so yeah, about 2 weeks ago now. But it was a total of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people viewed. There was more, but it was usually less than a minute. So it was actually a lot of us just checking to see if it was working in the beginning part. And I don't have the averages, but I can just calculate them real quick later on. But the longest viewed was, I think, the full 93 minutes. There's quite a few of like 80s and 30s and 70s and 70 minutes in there. So people watching most of it. And a couple of 15s, 5 minutes, 12 minutes and stuff like that too. And 119-minute length. So that's good to see. Any engagement I say is always good after the fact. And it's still there for some time. I think it was only about 2 months ago that they presented it, if I'm right. So we still got about a month left, but yeah, so it's still out there. It's still going well. So I'm going to email them again this week and see if maybe, because I know that they were working on a transcript maybe, so we can at least have something for the long-term record to keep. But yeah, just going from there. Yep, I told you about that. They will be attending. I keep following up with Tristan about our watershed monitoring thing that we kind of want to start for next spring. I still haven't received a response back yet. I got a couple of away messages the first few times, so I pinged him again on Monday to go back from there. And I think I'm just going to try to give him a call next week when I'm working, or not when I'm working, when I'm out of work on one of those days, and go from there. So, because I really do think that doing that in the wintertime, or at least getting the behind the scenes stuff set up, so we're ready to go in springtime, and like pretty much can just maybe do the trainings and then hand out like what's needed for testing and where, and kind of work a schedule. I'd love to get that done before the ice comes back out in the springtime. So let's see. I did follow up with Dan's daughter, who also works for the Lake Stewards of Maine, but I followed up with her about the group from Orono that she took out to gather the core samples this summer. Because I just want to bring them into that fold and like connect them with us and the information that we have, and keep extending that network in that way. I haven't heard back from that, but I followed up again on Monday. And yeah, that's all I have. I literally spent the whole time talking about updates, so I apologize, but
Good.
any questions, concerns, anything like that? No.
Good job.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. A lot of balls in the air. I hope to see everybody who can make it next week. Definitely want to come out with as many people as possible. So anybody watching after the fact, if you can make it, please try to. It's all online. I'll send out a couple email reminders too, but definitely going to be an important step. So awesome.
Thanks, Nick.
Not a problem. Yeah, you guys have a great night, and I'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a
Thank
good week,
you.
everyone. See you later.
Bye.